Hey everybody, welcome to DJ Storybook, how the COVID-19 has affected our lives in the arts and beyond. My name is Brian Murphy, and today we have a really special guest, a really good friend of mine. She's one of the hardest workers that I know. She owns a dance studio, she's a dancer, she does projects, and we've been doing these projects for a pretty long time. So this is a real special interview today. Her name is Regina Pietraroia, and good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Brian. I am joining you from my backyard garden here. It's great to see you.
It's good to see you also. So, I wanted to talk to you about how you've been dealing with this here the last almost 4 months now. I know you own a dance studio in North Royalton. Tell everybody the name of your studio and what you've been doing the last couple of months.
So my studio is Dance Arts by Regina in North Royalton, and I also have classes in Cleveland, Ohio. So I have a brick and mortar space in North Royalton, which we shut down on March 14th, I think, for in-person classes. And then my studio spaces in Cleveland were spaces that I was sharing with other people, like renting out a yoga studio and a church. And so I suspended in-person classes at the same time. And I think it took about a week to take a deep breath and figure out how to run a dance studio online. And I sort of started with 3 or 4 different ideas. Am I going to do recorded videos? I had never heard of Zoom before, but it's hilarious, right?
Zoom, it's funny, yeah.
But we pivoted to Zoom classes within a week after like a couple, test classes to kind of figure it out. And we wound up going through Zoom all the way to a couple weeks ago when we had a virtual recital. And I have to say, so it has not been easy. I mean, these parents at home, they have been so amazing with setting up home studios, helping their kids get signed on. They've had to learn how to work the program. The kids have to learn how to work the program. And I mean, everybody because I work with kids as young as 3. So most of our students stayed with us. Even the 3-year-olds were like learning choreography and performing on Zoom. So
Nice.
it's been a really awesome way to be together. And we're just starting to reopen right now. So I've had like 1 in-person class
Nice.
with social distancing stuff. And starting to do some private lessons are like a great way for people to start getting comfortable coming back with all of that.
Yes.
But it's been really powerful to be able to like stay together and have some kind of normalcy during this time. That's what most of my students and families have shared with me that they've been taking away from what we've been doing.
I think the imperative word he says normalcy. I think what is normalcy? What is it really? And what they've done is they've created a new normalcy. And they may not like it, and probably most of us, we probably don't, but we have to get rid of that thought and create a new way of thinking when it comes to dance studio work.
Well, so I told myself something the first week that this happened when I had to close the studio. Obviously, as a business owner, I've been in business for 4 years. So I haven't owned a business I've been doing it long enough that I have a track record and I know what I'm doing. But also 4 years, it's not like I've been in business for 25 years or something like that. So closing my doors was terrifying. It was so scary. And I told myself that the only way that I was going to get through it was if I let it go. Like mentally, instead of like trying to grab on to what it was before coronavirus, before COVID-19, I really tried to sit with and meditate on the idea that I needed to let my idea of what my studio was go and let it be open to it being something else. And that's something that you and I as friends have talked about a lot over the years, is being open to things. And in this situation, it seems like that holds so true. Like if we can, we're always people that are open to opportunities, open to looking at things in new ways. And that's what this moment is really about for us. I mean, as not just as artists or students or dancers, but collectively as a society, I think.
I totally agree. We have, and I think that we have a responsibility to lead that, because people are looking up to you to make to we only had so much time to get down into the dirt and go, oh my gosh, we had to step on our feet and stay above ground. We just had to find a way to do it. And you have the personality to do that. Your mind was already kind of there before all this. Like it's like it was ready without knowing you were ready. And part of so that's your studio work, and I know that dancing is also a major part of your life. Dancing, performing, projects. Gina, we had literally like 8 projects this past year that we could not do any of them. So I'll be honest, it was hard. It's been difficult not doing them. I got my last calendar of going somewhere, and I go, oh my gosh, I forgot to delete it. And I saw it, and I go, oh my gosh, that's my last thing I had to do. Well, this weekend would have been our last one for West Virginia. So, I think.
Yeah, we would have been together in West Virginia this weekend.
Yes.
Just like we would have been in West Virginia together the first weekend, March 14th.
Yeah,
I said that's the day my studio closed. We were supposed to perform in West Virginia.
So here we are 4 months later, or something like that. Didn't mean to bring that up. So, how we as leaders of organizations, owners, leaders, we have a responsibility to create an environment of what the new normal is. How do we do that personally?
How do we do that in our personal life?
And as a dancer, as who we are, where we focus so much on the organizations, which is good. When I feel, how do you, Gina, how have you been able to deal with this other setbacks? The setbacks.
Well, I am going to get real, as you did in describing all of the projects that we had coming up. I think it's really hard for people to understand those projects, as a dancer, and I mean, I feel like this is so cliche at this point, but how we identify with what we do. I mean, it's in our body, our physical body that moves through the world is our dancer self, because we spend so much time working and feeling things within our bodies. We're so aware of that. And so to feel your body have to retreat into a small space or into one space, and to not feel energy from other people. And I don't want this to sound like too woo-woo, but every single person watching this, and everyone who's listening to me talk, you, me, whether you're a dancer, doesn't matter, whether you're an artist, musician, doesn't matter. Everyone has sat at a performance, everyone has sang with a group of people, whether it was a Christmas carol, everyone has done the electric slide with a group of people. You know what it feels like to be moving with a group of people, to be thank you, to be sharing that energy in a space, and to not be able to do that, I think has been really challenging for like mental health, and just for mood and motivation. And so again, I've tried to let go a little bit of what I thought it was supposed to be, and trying to look at things in a different way. You know, maybe my class looks a little bit different. Like I've picked up some, you know, I've been riding my bike a lot more. I've been doing some more like outdoors kind of things, going on a lot more hikes, and like letting myself be in a different space. But you have also been really helpful with helping me get through it, because you have been hosting virtual performances. And the one that I was a part of last week, that was one of the most inspiring moments throughout quarantine. And I'd highly recommend to people, you know, it feels different to perform that way, you know, but being able to share energy
Mhm.
with other artists, you know, we really need that at this
We're,
time.
we're definitely
There's
going to do
nothing
another
that can
one.
replace that.
I know. And we're going to do another one probably the end of July. But so those, you know, again, part of our responsibility also as artists, I do feel like there's a sense of responsibility. I feel very
I agree.
strong. Yeah, I feel very strongly. We are a community of people. Dancers need to be together. And if this is one way to do it, then I have a responsibility to create an environment where people can feel that. And other people have other different responsibilities. Um, Not only that, it creates so much joy and happiness and connectiveness. We can't, you know, something that's so valuable to our profession. You know, the other responsibility, and I like to get into a little bit of this, and is culturally we're changing. We're changing culturally out there, and the Black Lives Matter, you know, political things are going on. I actually feel a sense of responsibility to express that also. How do you feel this environment? We're in this area. How can we create that? How do we use this space to voice ourselves right now when we are going through such a cultural shift?
That's a really big question, Brian.
I know, and I think that, I'll just again I use the word responsibility, and I've had some discussions with various people, and you know, as a white man, we I you know I relate myself as a dancer. A black man relates him as a black man first. How do we change that in our art form? How does as a white people share that we share what's going on and voice what's going on?
Well, so this is something that I've been thinking a lot about. And I think to some degree, the role of white people in general at the moment has a lot to do with listening and learning. Um, but I also think that in today's age with social media, things have a tendency to trend, and then disappear, right? So how do we change, or how do we take, I think like something that I've been thinking a lot about in the last month is how do we take what has been going on in our world in the last few weeks, excuse me, um, Something must have flown into my eye. This is wonderful timing. Jeez Louise. Sorry, I'm like crying over here. Getting emotional.
It's a very emotional
Okay,
conversation.
it
Yes.
is emotional, but now I can see, so this is
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we take what's happening now and make sure that it's not like a trending issue, and also make sure that it's not, so I've lived in an urban area for a long time, and I have been very, involved in using what I do as a weapon of social justice for as long as I've been able to. For me, that means long-term work within a community, and, not just coming into a school and doing a show and then walking away, but like really being a part of a community. So I have over the last several years worked with a school called Urban Community School here in Cleveland, Ohio. And so not only do I do weekly movement, or I have to change my tense here, but I have done weekly movement and music programs with those children, but also have offered them, some of those same children, scholarships to attend classes in, near where they live. And so I think that we need to create systems. We need to look at the systems that we have in place and look at creating systems that promote more equity in dance over the long term. And I think that a big part of it, social media is real tough right now. And a lot of times it feels like people are like shouting at each other, and yelling at each other about what there is to do. And the thing is that there's not one right answer, and there's not like one 10 slide Instagram post that's going to teach you how to be a better person. I really think it comes down to choices that you make on a daily basis. And, a dancer that both you and I are friends with has shared recently, and I hope she won't mind me mentioning, because she did share it publicly, but our friend Cassie Lee, shared her feelings that she has been essentially used time and again as a Black dancer, in photographs and advertising for companies, as a sort of token diversity. uh, Here, look at in this picture. So I think right now what needs to happen is that within our industry, we need to take a look at these things that we're doing and make sure that it's part of a long-term change, and make sure that it's about more, than just a post, and, more than just about a picture, a photo op that shows diversity. And what does that really mean? And I think, we see some dance brands coming out with changes in colors of tights and shoes and things like that. But the fact is that ballet, I would say, is my home art form as well as yours. And ballet is a Eurocentric art form. And so how can we look at that and open that up in an authentic way? That's what I'm interested in. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think that there's one answer. I think that it's something that we have to remain open to changing over time. So, it can start with things like different color shoes, right? But it has to grow from there. That's like a beginning, I would say.
And I'm going to finish this off here by saying that you've just explained, which is really in a nice way, our responsibility. Each of us has a responsibility. I believe that hardly. And that could be a small little one. Mine's small, yours is small, but as a big collective whole, we make a big, a big change for the long run. And sometimes it can get overwhelming. These societal changes are overwhelming sometimes because we want to do all, we want to go big, big. But if we all really sit down and think about what we can do as individuals, if it means bringing people together, if it means that you go to an urban school, if it means that you have communicate, you talk, if it means that you just post something, hey, listen, this is what I've had to deal with. All those things are part of the bigger picture and to change some of these dynamics that have been going on in our society.
Well, and I love how you've brought in the word responsibility. Um, and I think that that's exactly right, that each of us has a different responsibility. And, you know, my journey is going to look different than someone else's journey, and, maybe there's people that are starting at a different place, and starting at a place where maybe they do need, to just be reading Instagram posts about, ideas of things that they can do. But, as leaders in the arts, I believe that you're right, that we do have a responsibility. And if each of us can kind of look, we're all going to be coming at it from a different perspective. And if we can keep those perspectives open, and I think it goes back to that openness as well. If we can keep those perspectives open, we're going to allow for more to come in to keep growing that responsibility in the right direction.
And it kind of goes a full circle what we just originally talked about today. How we got to deal with what's going on, and sometimes you just have to sit back in your chair and just kind of simmer it, but then move along. And what we call the new normal is becoming the normal. And I think if we all can really, when they watch this, I'm hoping that they sit back and they get that feeling, yeah, you know what, this is what it is. Let's not fight it anymore. This is what I can do. Let's not fight it anymore. Let's do that. And as if we start to do that together in our own way, changes will happen, and we actually will see some, a bigger community change, and then an acceptance of the new normal. More of an acceptance.
Well, and I think that us as individuals accepting a collective responsibility is something that Americans aren't necessarily used to. We don't necessarily consider our roles as individuals within a collective. As dancers and artists, I think are more attuned to that because we're used to working, very collaboratively and dancing together. And the way a partnership works with opposition and a push and pull. But if right now, with both COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter movement, we are each being asked to accept our individual responsibility for the collective health of our society. And that means both our physical health and our, mental well-being.
I think that's a good way to end this interview. My dear friend, Regina Pietraroia, thank you so much for being part of this. I really appreciate the conversation. An important, very important one too.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you for these big questions.
Yes. We'll be talking soon. Thanks, Gina. Okay.
All right. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.